Morning, class. It's good to see everyone is here on time. Please make sure to take notes, because this lecture will be on the midterm exam. Now, today, I will bring you along the journey of exploring the dynamic behaviors of electrons observed under quantum molecular states and the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. As you all know for sure, in 1926, Albert Einstein famously said, "God does not play dice with the universe." Well, Einstein was wrong. 2 years later, pioneering German theoretical physicist Werner Heisenberg published a paper that ushered in a new era of quantum mechanics. In his paper, Heisenberg asserts that there is a fundamental limit to the precision of the human measurement of the physical properties of a subatomic particle. Well, what does that actually mean? Let's use an electron as the example. When we're observing an electron, we can only approximate the rough location of this electron at a particular point in time. Everyone still following? Good. This is because the more precisely the position of the electron is measured, the less precisely its momentum can be determined, and vice versa. Therefore, we will never know the future position of this electron. Now you might be asking yourself, it has been almost a minute of nothing but physics. Is everything in this speech going to be about physics? Well, the answer is yes, obviously. As Dr. Hudas have always said, everything is about physics, period. Now, let's delve into the physics of my life. I will bring you along my adventures from China to Canada, San Diego, Santa Barbara, before I finally found my home here at Appleby. Growing up in Shanghai, China, I attended bilingual schools. Therefore, I learned Mandarin and English simultaneously, establishing a solid foundation in English and a general curiosity towards the outside world. At the end of grade 6, when I first heard my uncle's family were moving to Canada, I was intrigued and I wanted to join them along their journey. And after proposing this idea to my parents, they were extremely supportive and agreed to my crazy idea. And just like that, I hopped on a flight to Canada. As stated in Einstein's theory of special relativity, as the velocity of a moving object approaches the speed of light, the time governing such object stagnates. The plane accelerated faster and faster. Its wheels left the solid ground and soon it was soaring through the clouds. I seemingly felt time slow down. In a noisy, crowded airplane cabin, I can hear the ticking sound of my watch. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Time passed slowly as I stared blankly outside of the window. I saw the land that I've lived on for 12 years slowly disappear into the clouds. Suddenly, I felt alone and scared. Yet, I am excited for the journey that lay ahead. Touching down at Toronto Pearson Airport, I immediately moved in with my aunt and uncle, while my parents stayed in China for work. Attending James W. Hill, a small public school in Oakville, I started my life in this brand new world on the other side of the planet. One day, when my cousin was driving around the neighborhood, we passed by Appleby's front gate. Looking at the gorgeous campus and students wearing neat navy blue blazers, I secretly told myself, one day, I will study at this school. One day. That thought did not cross my mind for a very, very long time. At school, I wasn't a foreigner for long, mastering the sciences, mathematics, and languages, even playing a bit of trumpet and speaking some French. But most of all, I was able to find my place within an extremely welcoming community. I was lucky. During the weekend, I also started playing golf with my family. As time went on, this hobby turned into a routine, and this routine turned into a burning passion. Before I knew it, I was watching golf during dinner, dreaming golf when I slept, and swinging golf clubs whenever I'm free, and even perhaps catching a bit of that PGA tour during class, but the teacher does not have to know that. I also dug quite a few divots on the pristine grass lawn in front of my uncle's house, and let's just say that was the groundhog's fault. Just after 3 months of playing, surprisingly, I advanced to a level that some might take a year to achieve. Fueled by my love for golf and encouraged by my coach, I decided to pursue professional golfing. A smart decision at the time, so I thought. I told my parents about my plans, and they supported me once again. And halfway through grade 7, my life drastically changed one more time. Packing my things, I hopped on another flight. And just a few hours later, I landed in San Diego, but this time with my mom. Standing on the soft green grass, taking in a deep breath of the refreshing morning air, and staring at the distant flag floating in the wind, I felt every muscle in my body slowly awaken, and my mind became relaxed and focused. It was another beautiful California day, and another lovely golf practice. Everything just seemed so perfect, right? Well, I wish everything was like that, because not everything started so perfect. Let me explain. When I first got to San Diego with my mom, who did not speak a word of English, things were tough. Imagine this: a 7th grade kid taking his mom, who cannot speak English, through the busy streets of San Diego, traveling door to door, trying to find an apartment to settle in, and store to store, trying to buy a car. Few people took us seriously. I can still vividly remember that one burning afternoon when my mom and I entered an apartment building complex located in downtown San Diego. After researching online, we found out that there were suitable apartments for rent. We politely knocked on the door of the manager. I translated for my mom about our desire to rent an apartment. Without even inviting us into his office, without even inviting us into his office, the manager claims that all the apartments were occupied and none can be leased, suggesting us to leave. Confused, my mom and I gave our thanks and left his office. When we were waiting in the lobby and researching for our next location, we saw the manager leading a group of visitors into the building and giving a sales pitch. Embarrassed, shocked, and angry all at once, my mom and I felt powerless and frustrated. Nevertheless, we kept our heads up and we pushed on. In 2 weeks, we bought a car, rented an apartment, and assembled all the IKEA furniture. Within a month, we scoured the entire local area, located convenience stores and supermarkets, and most importantly, found a wonderful golf driving range for me to practice. Like a newborn star in a distant galaxy, gathering interstellar dust, forming gravitational poles, and gaining angular momentum, my mom and I successfully settled down in this new city. Sitting in my newly furnished apartment, we were relieved. I waited for the end of the holiday and the beginning of a new semester. Little did I know, disaster was soon struck again. It was a dry, hot morning. My mom dropped me off at my school for the first day of class. With a packed school bag of notebooks, binders, and big pencil cases, I was excited and ready to work hard and tackle the second half of grade 7. Walking through the small front gate with a rusty old sign that said Balboa City School, I was greeted with 2 fragile park benches plopped down at the front of the school as the reception area. Confused, I took a walk around the campus. Turns out, the entire school was roughly the size of Applebee's main parking lot. After spending 2 weeks there, I realized how big of a mistake I have made. The school was nothing like it was advertised. The campus had minimum facilities, the teacher did not bother with student attendance or grades, and many students did not pay attention in class either. In a family that regards academics as its highest position, we were in disbelief. My parents once again, were on the hunt for a new school. A recommendation from a friend led me to apply to a private school in Santa Barbara. With access to a nearby golf course, sports facilities, and a strong academic focus, this seems like the perfect choice at the time. I applied, got the offer, immediately starting the moving process. My mom and I packed our belongings into the car, drove 3-hour car drives between San Diego and Santa Barbara, and contacted local storage rooms. During the summer, we had no choice but to live in a small garage of a local family. With cramped living space, 0 contacts in the area, my mom and I were forced to start over once again. Santa Barbara, an extremely isolated city located on the central California coast, had few international students coming to study. Locking down on an affordable apartment was a nightmare, and a task almost as difficult as tracking down the God particle. With no social security IDs or American citizenship, the now 13-year-old me and my mom were consistently rejected and ignored. After almost a month of tireless online research, visits, and negotiation, we were finally able to lock down an apartment roughly the size of an MB classroom. We thought we had finally found the right place for us to live and study. However, not everything worked out. After the constant moving, school changing, an increased focus on academics, my commitment to golf diminished. My passion for practice dwindled, and my dream to become a professional golfer crushed. Just as Luke said in his chapel speech, I failed, but I tried to fail forward. I began working hard at school, rapidly advancing in all areas and starting to develop my interest in STEM by joining the school's robotics team, science clubs, and computer classes. Just as I began to believe that Santa Barbara was the place I would call home for the remainder of my high school career, I realized that the only thing in this universe that is constant is trouble. And soon trouble came knocking down our door. When I went to school during the day, my mom was bombarded with challenges, alone. In a small city like Santa Barbara that lacks Chinese culture, day-to-day errands such as grocery shopping and refueling the gas tank became impossibilities for her. On the weekends, my mom and I had to drive an hour to a nearby city to buy foods and supply that reflected our culture. In addition, her friends and family were oceans away and time zones apart. The language barrier and a lack of human connection isolated her from a culture she has been raised in and trapped her in our apartment. This has taken a great toll on the both of us. Soon, we realized that this lifestyle is unhealthy and is not sustainable. My father, who I only see once a year, was worried sick in China. One evening, when my mom and I were discussing my plans for schooling in grade 9, the beautiful campus at Appleby College flashed through my mind. Mom, why don't we just move back to Canada? Remember that nice school I told you about when I was driving by the front gate? I mean, we could apply there. Like a glimpse of light shining through the darkest night, a sense of hope swelled in my heart. The next morning, I applied for Appleby College. Upon reflection, this was truly a crazy adventure that brought me where I was meant to be all along, here at Appleby College. So the age-old question can be asked, is this free choice or is this destiny? Well, I say no, it's neither. It's simply random improbability. My life in pursuit of education had taken so many unexpected turns. When I first landed in Canada, I would have never thought that I would end up in the US just a half year later. And when I embarked on my journey to become the next Tiger Woods, without the scandals of course, I would have never thought that I would be standing in a chapel, in a school I dreamed about years ago, delivering a speech to my community about my experiences. Like an electron, we can never precisely pinpoint the location of our next destination. We can never predict the next event in our lives, because life is uncertain, arbitrary, and full of mysteries, just as Heisenberg stated about all particles in our universe. Under this erratic algorithm that creates the reality we live in, life throws many unexpected misadventures at us. From these twists and turns, we are sent on journeys we never thought were conceivable. However, the essence of all that I have shared with you today is to never back down from these experiences. We can adapt, grow, and tirelessly strive towards a better self. Starting out as a naive 7th grader in Oakville, I have grown just as everyone else in this room. From writing my first check to pay the monthly water and electric bills, to protecting my mom's and my own identity in a foreign land, the uncertainty of my life have propelled me forward, like the electromagnetic force on the circuit of life. We will all soon embark on new chapters in our lives, the grade 12s in this room especially. No matter how prepared and well thought out your plans for the futures are, prepare to embrace the uncertainty and surprises that comes our way. And be ready to learn from these unique yet invaluable moments. Take a look at the people around you and ponder the chances that we, like particles governed by the uncertainty principle, have been directed here at this specific moment in time and space to become one close, tight-knit community. Let's appreciate the random and infinitesimal chance of meeting one another and creating long-lasting memories. Recall the first time that you met your best friend. Now reflect how lucky, how surprising, and how random that two people, perhaps from completely different backgrounds, can meet at this moment. Such are the wonders of our universe. Precious our time here, together under one roof, whether it is 6 months or 6 years. because time is beyond the three-dimensional space-time of humankind. None of us can be certain of where we will end up next. After all, life is like a box of chocolate. You will know where you're gonna get. Thank you, and please all rise and sing hymn number 575.